This week, a deadly rampage in Far Rockaway. Plus, violence inside New York City schools.
You send your kid to school to be safe. It's crazy.
And horror stories from strap hangers.
It's really difficult to feel safe.
Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. Here are the crimes across the 5 boroughs. We begin this week in Queens, where a man kills 4 of his own family members in a stabbing rampage.
Such an awful story to have to report on. Family members, though, in the Bronx knew that 38-year-old Courtney Gordon was a growing threat to their safety. His erratic behavior forcing his own aunt and cousin to set up cameras inside their home. They even started locking the doors to their rooms before finally kicking him out. And another aunt is fighting for her life here at New York Presbyterian after Gordon turned on her and repeatedly stabbed her.
We just told him he can't be here anymore because he's causing too much trouble.
The family of 38-year-old Courtney Gordon began to suspect that he was suffering from mental health issues earlier this year. Sean McCoy says his cousin's behavior continued to decline until it took a drastic turn for the worse this week.
As a cousin, I tried my best to try to get him a job, try to work with him, and it just wasn't working out. Gordon
stabbed 4 of his family members to death early Sunday morning. Police have identified the victims as 11-year-old Miklia James, 12-year-old Rogine Davis, 44-year-old Suzette Taylor Davis, and Richmond Davis, who was in his 30s. Gordon also stabbed his 61-year-old aunt, the woman who took him in, who is now clinging to life at New York Presbyterian Hospital in Queens. According to the NYPD, he lit the front of the home on fire before walking out with a suitcase and stabbing 2 responding officers. One of the cops fired at Gordon to stop him. Gordon was pronounced dead at the hospital, and this kitchen knife was recovered at the scene. The 2 cops were treated for their injuries and released.
They try to get help for him. They try to get mental health workers to come in and try to, see what was going on with him, and he refused it.
McCoy says he and his mother let Gordon live at their home in the Bronx for a few months, but ultimately they threw him out following frequent outbursts and uncontrollable anger. McCoy's mother, who didn't want to show her face on camera, says that decision may have saved their lives.
I wanted him out because when someone have mental issues, you never know when they're going to flip.
According to the Daily News, Gordon's aunt in Far Rockaway allowed him to move in a couple of weeks ago because he had been shuffling in and out of homeless shelters following a separation from his wife. Now the surviving family members are trying to make sense of the unthinkable.
This was not the same Courtney that I used to.
The 2 officers who intervened are 16 and 28-year veterans of the force. They are being hailed as heroes for stopping that stabbing rampage, but the state attorney's office is investigating Gordon's death at this time, which is protocol.
In Midwood, Brooklyn, students put on lockdown after a stabbing in the halls of their high school.
That attack happening at Edward R. Murrow High School. And while the teen is expected to be okay, many students are on edge, saying they don't feel safe going back to school tomorrow.
All right, Fox 5's Richard Giacovas joins us live outside the school in Midwood. Richard, walk us through exactly what happened.
What a day it's been here at Edward R. Murrow High School, with thousands of students released just a little while ago, but spending most of their day locked inside classrooms and getting searched for weapons after that 15-year-old was stabbed in the stomach, with the suspect allegedly fleeing the building on foot, with police searching and parents out here wondering what was going on. They became angry, they became upset because they couldn't get to their kids all day long.
It happened 8 o'clock in the morning, and now here nobody say anything.
As students watched from the windows at Edward R. Murrow High School, irate parents waited in the cold outside the front entrance for hours, demanding their children be dismissed.
You could have searched every part of this building in 6 hours. This is crazy.
Yolanda Washington had been texting with her daughter, a freshman here at school, all day.
She said, "Mom, I'm in a hard lockdown right now. I'm scared."
That was at 9:30 this morning. 6 hours later, Yolanda and dozens of other parents were finally reunited with their kids. The school day began when police say the call came in that a 15-year-old boy was stabbed with a knife in the stomach inside the school building by another student. The suspect, cops said, then fled. Once police arrived, they surrounded the school, placing the building on lockdown. According to a letter to parents sent by the school principal, the NYPD conducted a reverse scan of the building meaning every student had to be searched for weapons before class could resume. Iana Washington is a freshman.
They searched our book bags through metal detectors, and they also make sure that we didn't have any metal on us. If we did, that they had to make sure that it wasn't any weapons or anything.
The 15-year-old was taken to Maimonides Hospital in stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries. But students here say they're still concerned that the 16-year-old who police say did stab the victim is still out there ahead of another school day tomorrow. And some of them don't even want to come back.
It was just a lot of emotions going through and a lot of frustrated kids. Like, we just all wanted to go home.
You gonna go to school tomorrow?
No, I don't want to.
Just a day later in the Bronx, another act of violence in one of the city's schools.
They searched us. We went through like metal detectors.
It was hectic. It made getting to class, it made us late. It made it hard for a lot of the students to be punctual.
The day after one of their classmates got stabbed in the stomach, students at Edward R. Murrow High School in Midwood, Brooklyn are living a new reality.
They're all over the hallways now. They're always like patrolling, checking to make everybody go to class and not skip.
The New York City Department of Education confirming that scanning did take place inside the high school today for every student who showed up to class. A welcome relief to parents, some who dropped their kids off this morning filled with fear.
Actually very nervous. I took off from work today just to bring him because, it was nerve-wracking last night.
Weapons seem to be a problem in some New York City public schools. Following this incident in Brooklyn, police say a 12-year-old girl was slashed by another 14-year-old student with a knife in a Bronx classroom this morning at JHS James M. Kieran School in Soundview. The 12-year-old is expected to be okay. The DOE says the school was placed on hold and students were scanned.
You send your kid to school to be safe. They're responsible while they're in school. It's to watch them. Look at that. The little girl got stabbed in her leg. It's crazy.
Also in the Bronx today at the Fannie Lou Hamer Freedom School, police say a 16-year-old boy was caught bringing a gun to class. These incidents come as Mayor Eric Adams announced the city will hire 120 new school safety agents. This comes just weeks after the mayor's administration abruptly canceled a class of 250 agents over budget concerns. In a statement, the union who represents the safety agents said, quote, parents, teachers, and students watched as a class of 250 needed school safety agents was canceled. Now, after record school violence, we hear 120 new agents. We're down 2,000 with retirements on the way. What has to happen before the politicians wake up?
I've seen this school go through many phases of glory, and at a certain point, you have to be able to say, we need to keep security as a top priority.
In Upper Manhattan, bodega workers in the city announced they're taking their safety into their own hands.
The United Bodegas of America announced hundreds of bodega workers are now legally licensed to carry concealed guns. The group says this is in an effort to deter deadly crimes from taking place in their stores. Michelle Ross explains.
Bodega owners say that they have created the secret society of gun owners because they're now taking their safety into their own hands. And that this isn't to have a permit to kill, but a permit to defend themselves.
Anyone that's out there looking to rob us, hurt us, kill us, beware, you may be walking into the wrong bodega. Because now we have the same firepower you have.
Hundreds of bodega owners in New York City are now legal gun owners. This was nearly a 2-year process, and the United Bodegas of America says it took this long because they wanted to do it safely, legally, and secretly. And the knowledge of which bodega owners carrying a concealed gun will be kept a secret.
You don't want anyone to shoot you before they rob you because they know you have a weapon.
The announcement was made at the UBA headquarters in Inwood, where the courses are held by duly authorized instructors like Johnny Nunez. He's a retired NYPD sergeant and former police academy instructor.
Having a firearm is a defensive tool. It's a defensive tool. It's not an offensive tool to be used when your life or the life of another human being is, in keywords, imminent danger.
The group says its only intended use is to prevent themselves or someone in their store from getting killed. In 2015, Junior Guzman Feliz, the 15-year-old boy who was brutally murdered in the Bronx, sought shelter in a bodega before he was dragged out and killed. Last summer, Jose Alba was working behind the counter of a Harlem bodega when this person aggressively shoved him. Alba fatally stabbed the man in self-defense.
They're not out here to provoke any incidents. We are trained to de-escalate situations, but we are also trained to use a firearm if we have to.
Barbara Moretta has owned a bodega since 2015. She's considering applying for a license through the group.
When they see a woman, they think they can do everything, you know. But if I have my gun, so I think it's better for the store.
And as more bodega owners apply and obtain their permits within this secret society, it will remain a secret society.
Next, we catch a train to Bushwick as strap hangers share their subway horror stories.
While the numbers may show that subway crime is down, there are many incidents that either don't get reported or don't rise to the level of criminal activity. Still, they are unnerving.
All right, Fox 5's Arthur Chen spoke with the riders about some of their subway stories.
A lot of the times when we bring you stories that have to do with the subway system, it's when something really big has happened, right? And police have been called. Acknowledging that, we wanted to come down here and talk to New Yorkers about things that might not rise to that level, but still holds a very big presence in their lives.
I feel like every night I see something, right?
Sam is one of the countless subway riders out there with a story to tell. Times Square is his station, and though he's by no means small, he says he is always on his toes.
Every single night, like those stations, they're like, it's really difficult to feel safe. No matter, even if nothing is happening, like, you know, eventually something is gonna happen. Oh my God, that was like 2 weeks ago. I was in the L train under the bridge going from Bedford to First Avenue, and somebody started screaming like, "Get off the train right now, get off the train, get off the train." And it was like this huge pile of people running into everybody.
Sam's Times Square station was in the headlines last year after Michelle Go was shoved to her death onto the tracks of an oncoming train. Her murder exacerbated by the fact that in life she dedicated her free time to those in need, just like the man who was arrested for killing her. For women who ride the subways, like Sienna, there seems to be no shortage of disturbing behavior to endure.
Someone like spat on me on the subway, and that was really pretty traumatizing.
Anahi echoes another form of criminality that targets women. She too has unwanted stories to share.
I actually have been, molested. One day I was going on my way to work again, and walking up the stairs, a man came and tried to grab my behind. And that is, as a woman, as you say, it's very uncomfortable to be dealing with that type of situation.
From sexual harassment to assault cases to murder cases, we report on instances that the NYPD investigates. The official NYPD stats show a picture of crime in decline in the subways, in part a result of changes, including the city adding additional patrol officers into the system, and a change in techniques like positioning officers to check in with conductors who might report activity to police to address. But the simple truth is, countless New Yorkers who run into awful situations tell us they don't even call 911, and that includes both Sam and Anahi.
No. Like never, and not because I don't think they're needed. I just don't think the response is gonna be quick enough, or I just think it's more like just look down and wait, because eventually it's gonna be over.
Because honestly, I don't call 911 because they're not gonna be as on top of the situation as it should be. They're gonna give you a rundown, make you write a report, and they're gonna check on you. They never check on you. So I don't feel like there's a point to have to reach out to NYPD.
We have strategies in place to address these kinds of issues, right? So in this instance, again, we have cameras throughout our system. We're starting to add more cameras on subway cars.
On the same day we spoke with these subway riders, New York City Transit President Richard Davey was responding to questions from reporters about a shooting inside a subway car on a C train in Brooklyn. A teenager and a man in his 40s were shot.
For our riders, it's got to be unsettling, there's no doubt.
While Davey says these instances are rare and points out to the fact that there were 4 million subway riders that day, and NYPD data shows subway shootings are down 25% this year, the picture does not match with Sam's perception and that of other riders we speak with. Remember what Sam said when we first met him?
I feel like every night I see something, right?
And with that disconnect, riders tell us how they avoid becoming another subway story, knowing when to avoid eye contact and being ready to move out of a subway car.
I think when it escalates, I just switch like from another train or go a little further, try to like get away from the situation. I think that's a way better solution.
Back in Manhattan, New Yorkers rally at City Hall, calling for stricter e-bike rules in the 5 boroughs.
At this intersection in July of 2020, 74-year-old Carol Wilson was walking home. She ended up in the hospital with head trauma.
I saw a bike coming straight at me. I had the walk signal. I was in the crosswalk. I froze like a deer in the headlights, but I yelled, "Stop, stop." The bike kept coming, hit me. Obviously, I passed out.
2 years later, it happened again.
So I had a concussion. My leg was all twisted, so it took about 8 months for me to be able to walk again.
On Wednesday, outside of City Hall, a rally was held in support of Queens Councilman Bob Holden's bill for license plates and the registration of e-vehicles, which he says are a threat to public safety.
Now you have to have eyes in the back of your head because they come from every different direction. They come from the sidewalk itself, they come from the crosswalk, they come from behind you, they come from in front of you.
Maria Roca of Sunset Park, Brooklyn was hit when an e-bike intentionally left the bike lane and jumped onto the sidewalk.
Fortunately, I did not hit my head when I hit the sidewalk, and the second time I was able to kind of balance myself.
Despite having 32 of 51 council members in support of his proposal, Holden says City Council has yet to have a hearing, which they need to do before the end of the year, or he'll have to start all over again. In the meantime, pedestrian stories of hits or near misses continue.
It was 13th Street. The light changed for us, and the bike just came right in the middle of like 7 people not caring.
Do you have PTSD? Or?
I certainly do. I am terrified to cross any street in the city.
Now, with congestion pricing moving closer and closer to reality, many of the victims we spoke with worry that this will mean an increase in e-bikes, e-scooters, and all those types of vehicles on city streets for New Yorkers to have to contend with.
And finally, a brutal beating in Brooklyn leaves one dead and another in critical condition.
Police say that the victims are cousins. One has died from the assault. The other is still in critical condition.
All right, that attack happened in Gravesend, Brooklyn, and that's where we find Fox 5's Kendall Green. Kendall, what are police saying tonight?
Hey, good evening, Steve and Natasha. Police have identified that 66-year-old older cousin as Carlos Guam. While the question at the center of this incident is what happened inside of that car. What made the driver commit such a violent act? Tina Ryan woke up to the sounds of helicopters hovering over her Gravesend, Brooklyn home Thursday morning.
I mean, they sounded like they were right over the house, like landing on the roof.
The sounds from the scene started early, around 4:40, after the NYPD got a call about a violent assault on 2 cousins, both men, one of them 52, the other 66 years old. Police arrived on West 9th Street to find both victims injured and unconscious. NYPD believes they were attacked by their driver. Medics transported both men to Maimonides Medical Center, where 66-year-old Carlos Guaman was pronounced dead.
Feelings bad because somebody died. Who knows what is this reason?
That violence reportedly sparked by an argument of some sort over the fare.
It's a shame because it could have been my father, it could have been your father, and apparently nobody's not doing nothing about it.
It doesn't appear the attacker used any weapons, but allegedly punched the victims repeatedly in the head before taking off in the vehicle heading north on West 9th Street, leaving both victims behind. You can see one of the victims lying unresponsive on this surveillance video. Neighbors sharing their shock.
I think it's shocking. I mean, it's appalling. I don't have any explanation of why some senseless piece of violence like that would happen.
And that's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.